Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is Auntie Lara, and in today's lesson we are going to be treating a detailed analysis of Look Back in Anger by John Osbourn. So if you are yet to subscribe to my channel, please support me by subscribing, like the video, comment, and best of all, please share. Thank you. So as you all know, that this play is divided into two acts. So in this particular lesson, I'm going to be summarizing the first act, and then the next lesson, I'm going to be summarizing the second act. And the third lesson, so we are going to be treating some questions and visit some of last year's questions and how WAEC expected that students should answer, and that will be your yardstick to answering this year's question when you see it. Do we understand? So let's start. All right, so before we start, see, I'm going to drop this teacher tone and all. I'm going to just talk to you as though I'm your friend that has watched a particular movie which you have not watched, and I want to gist with you. Some of my students complain that this play is not interesting, but at the end of the day, we tend to argue. They argue and argue and argue. The boys pray that they will not find this kind of wife like Alison. The girls pray that they will not find the kind of husband like Jimmy. And so it's an interesting play if you just pay attention. So I'm just going to be using the slides as yardstick so that I don't jump some important information. So I'm just going to go run through. So are you ready? Let's begin. So the play begins with Jimmy, Alison, and Cliff in their room. The room is an attic. I hope you all know what an attic means. All right, the room is an attic, and that being an attic means that they do not even have enough money to rent a suitable room. That shows that they are not buoyant. That shows that they are poor, right? Now, Alison belongs to the middle class family. Middle class family in Nigeria is like the upper class social status, while Jimmy, the husband, belongs to the working class. Working class is equivalent to the lower class. Jimmy and Cliff belong to the working class, and Alison belongs to the upper class. You ask me, why? How did they end up like that? But we are going to get to that later. Okay, so Alison is saying ironing, and Jimmy and Cliff are reading the newspaper, and Jimmy starts to complain that the newspaper, Sunday's newspaper, is boring, and he goes on to make jest of Cliff for not being smarter. Note that Cliff is Jimmy's friend, like Jimmy's friend. Cliff is the friend of Jimmy. He and Jimmy runs a sweet store. It's given to Jimmy by Altena's mom. We are going to get to that part. The difference between Jimmy and Cliff is that Jimmy was able to get education, even though it was a free one, but Cliff didn't have that kind of opportunity, but he decided to self-teach himself. So he is able to read the newspaper because he decided to learn how to read by himself. Jimmy always finds every little avenue to taunt Cliff. Now, because he's of the social status, he always equates himself, and because he had education, he always equates himself, and he would do things that the middle class people would do. On the norms, there's nothing that concerns working class with reading of newspaper. You understand? It's something that belongs to the middle class, and that's why he's even saying it now, that the paper makes him ignorant, because he really cannot comprehend what they are saying in the paper. But he always wants to live that kind of lifestyle, even though he doesn't have money enough to do so. Alison responded that, okay, so he was asking, wanting to, show his superiority over Cliff and Alison. So he asks Alison if Alison understands what the Sunday newspaper is, and Alison said that she doesn't even read them. Okay, and Cliff, seeing that there's already tension in the air, decides to bring it down. So Cliff is just like an intermediary between Alison and Jimmy. When he sees that there is so much tension in the air, he tends to do something that would douse the tension, and that's where he came in at this point to say, please leave this lady alone, let her be. You understand? And Jimmy then goes on to ask if white woman's body makes it too hard for Alison to speak. Like, this is Alison's weapon. Allison will never respond. And this kind of thing gets on Jimmy's nerves. Like, why would I have a wife that will be talking to and will not even respond? Why would I have a wife that will be talking to and why would I have a wife that we will not be able to gist? He wants someone that's when I give it to you once, give it to me twice. When I give it to you 2 times, give it to me 10 times. That's kind of person he wants. But he's not getting it from Allison. It is not Allison's fault if you ask me. Allison is from the middle class, like from upper class. You know, rich people, they don't talk too much. They don't, you understand? So, but the thing about it is that if Allison had decided that she wanted to get married to Jimmy, I feel that to a reasonable extent she should have come down to his level. Like, you saw him and you saw that he was of a lower level, lower status before you decided to marry him. So you now being there and still wanting to maintain your upper status really gets on Jimmy's nerve. You understand? And so Jimmy, every little light opportunity that Jimmy gets, he lashes back at her. And why does he do that? Because he wants her to at least do something. Okay, if you're not going to relate with me like on your norms, like less regular gist, then maybe if I abuse you, maybe if I insult you, then maybe you can respond. Jimmy wanted to break her by every means. He went on about Allison's complacency until Allison snaps, okay, that he should stop and that she cannot think. And Jimmy replies that, oh, that's surprising. Like, you've not had any thoughts in years, so what are you thinking now? You know, that kind of insult to someone's wife, you understand? And so Cliff takes Allison's hand, also wanting to douse their detention. He takes Allison's hand and urges her to sit and rest. Okay, but Allison replies that she has work to do and then Cliff kisses her and puts his finger in his mouth. You wonder, like, what's this rubbish in the presence of the husband, right? But Jimmy really doesn't find anything bad in it. He knows that they cannot go down. Like, this open affection that Cliff is giving to Allison, Jimmy is not capable. Like, he doesn't know how to do it, to give an open affection. Cliff feels that gap too, giving the love that Jimmy could not give Allison, giving Allison the love that Jimmy could ordinarily not give her. All right, so Jimmy asks Allison to make some tea and immediately decides against it. Then Jimmy continues to talk about how he hates Sundays again, and then when he didn't receive any reaction from either Cliff, those ones just left him too, So he got angry again and he snapped at them, and then he asked that they pretend, they play a game pretending that they were humans and that they were really alive. This kind of thing that he likes. I'm sure that you cannot have, or you cannot want to get married to someone later in the future and then have that, that kind of atmosphere, that kind of marriage where everything is just dull, right? And so he said, see, can we just pretend as if we are alive for Christ's sakes, for once, as if we are human beings, right? So Allison offers to iron Cliff's trouser, and he proceeds to empty the pockets. Now, whilst Cliff was bringing out the things in his pocket, matchbox dropped, and immediately Jimmy picked it up and he went on to light his pipe. Now, note that on the norms, pipe is associated to this middle class, rich people. Have you seen someone from lower class using pipe? So you can see that Jimmy, one, he was reading newspaper, the things that belong to the rich people. Two, he smokes pipe instead of smoking cigarettes. You understand? So when he wanted to light the pipe, Cliff was like, no, now, don't do this. It's going to affect your wife. And Allison said, no, don't bother, that she's already used to the smell. Jimmy being Jimmy responded that, you are great at getting used to things. Even if he should die, if Jimmy should fall down and die now, that's fast, Allison will be used to him being gone. You understand? And all of this is just to lash back at her. And of course, Jimmy asked if Allison's friend Webster would be coming over, and Webster is Allison's friend that belongs to the same class with Allison. But Jimmy resonates better with Webster because Webster has enthusiasm, something that Allison does not have. Webster communicates regardless of the social status, difference in social status. Webster communicates, the gist and all. So Webster is an exception from all of Allison's family and other friends, right? So he was asking when Webster would be coming, okay? And all of this, going on and on, that website has enthusiasm, Addison does not have enthusiasm, all of this, Jimmy started going on and on, and he started getting on Addison's nerve, and he asked Jimmy to stop, saying those hateful words, right? And when Addison told Jimmy to stop, it took Jimmy by surprise, like, oh, look who is responding, like, this is what I want, this is the response. And so Alice's response was like a fuel to Jimmy's, banters and insult, and he was like, oh, okay, bring it on. And of course, it was like a renewed energy, and he just started, another round of insults. And even Cliff had to beg him that, please don't get this lady provoked now. Like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, you just find pleasure in making her get angry. And he said that nothing can get his wife provoked. That is Addison. Nothing can get Addison provoked. And even if he drops it, Addison will not be provoked. And then Jimmy started raining insults on Addison's friend, calling them militant, and just like her father and mother. Now, one thing about Jimmy is that Jimmy is very, very insultive and very, very disrespectful. I understand the fact that you are not getting what you want from the marriage, you're not getting what you want from your wife, but you going to the extent of abusing or raining insults on the family, on your wife's family, is the height for me, and it really doesn't see anything bad in it. Like, because all of them belong to that class, and they do not have this kind of feeling that he wanted. They do not regard the lower class. We are going to get to that when we want to do the detailed analysis, right? They do not have this kind of feeling. They do not resonate with the things that the lower class people are going through. And so you just, and Addison is like the next best thing. Since you are from that same class now, that do not see the lower class people, that do not even care about the lower class people, you are from that same class. So he lashes all the anger that is in him on the middle class people. He lashes it out on Addison, and so it was Addison that is taking the brunt for the kind of life that he gets to live now. So he insults the father and mother, and of course he insults the brother too, and he calls the brother vague, and he says that the girl takes sanctuary in stupidity. Like, how can the supposed husband tells the wife that his brother-in-law takes sanctuary in stupidity? Like, that's who Jimmy is. So let's quickly continue. Now, all this while, Addison continued, Addison did not even give him any response. And this is that is Addison's power. This is what Addison would do. She cannot fight. She does not have the strength. It's not a trait, because she's a member of the middle class. So it's not a trait to start, bantering words with. No, now she can't be caught, unguarded. You understand? So she just keeps quiet, and she knows that her silence always gets on Jimmy's nerves. And so this is her own way of fighting back. So all the while that Jimmy was saying all of this, abusing her parents, she just kept quiet, and Jimmy also was getting angry. Jimmy wanted to break Addison by every means. He goes on to call Addison's brother sycophantic, phlegmatic, and pusillanimous. Like, you need to check your dictionary for this. These words are, I don't know if I will say it now, and YouTube will now say something about my page. I'm just growing the page, okay? So please check these words yourself, and you'll be shocked how that a husband will call the wife and the wife's brother these names, right? So Jimmy goes on to say that he had looked up the word pusillanimous in the dictionary, and that this vividly describes the wife. Now, after you checking up the meaning of pusillanimous, I need you to consider, this is not even husband to wife here. Consider that your friend or your bestie calls you this name. Will you still want to continue that friendship? This is how far Jimmy is going to break Addison, right? And Addison, tired of Jimmy's banter, muttered that she could lose her mind if Jimmy does not stop. Jimmy picks up the dictionary and was like, let me read it out to you. He went ahead to read. And from the stage direction, we were informed that Addison is already used to Jimmy's banter. So there's nothing that he's saying that he has not said before. He has said worse. So she doesn't even react to it, even though it is affecting her. So Addison returns Cliff's trouser, and Cliff calls her beautiful, you are this, you're darling, blah, blah, blah. Puts his arm around her and kisses her. All of this is just to douse the tension that I know how badly your husband is treating you, so let me be there for you. And she also talks on Cliff's nose. All right. Note that all this was done in presence of Jimmy. He was there, so he really doesn't have any objection to to their open show of affection. So Cliff tries to lighten the atmosphere by asking Jimmy to dance with him. And Jimmy, not being in the mood, pushes Cliff towards Allison and the ironing board. And the three of them, fell on the floor. And the iron fell on Allison. Allison got burnt by the iron and she screams. Now, Jimmy, seeing that Allison is hot, apologized to her, but Allison was not having any of it, and so she shouted that Jimmy should leave the room. Jimmy leaves, and of course Cliff goes to get soap and water, bandage, to clean up her wound and just dress it for her. And Allison confesses to Cliff that she doesn't feel brave again. Really, if someone keeps telling you, saying all of these hurtful words every day, even you will feel very less of yourself. So I do not blame Allison feeling less of herself now. Something that if someone calls you over and over again, it will get to a time you start to work on you and you'll be like, am I really who this person says I am? And this is the situation that Allison finds herself. So she asked Cliff, she asked if everything that Jimmy says about her is true. She doesn't know what it feels like to be young, and she's not even capable of loving again. And Allison also goes on to tell Cliff that she is pregnant. Now, she knows that this thing is not supposed to happen. They are living in an attic. It is very, very small. Their means of livelihood would not even be able to sustain a child. So she knows that Jimmy would not even want to hear or want to listen to the fact that Allison is pregnant. And so she confided in Cliff. And Cliff goes on to ask if it was too late to abort the pregnancy. She said she doesn't know. And of course, Cliff encourages that, see, Jimmy loves you. Just forget the fact that he talks like this to you. He really and sincerely loves you. So you can just go ahead and tell him. And Allison said, see, if I tell Jimmy is going to be okay with it for just a night. After that, he's going to taunt me with it for the rest of my life. Like, for the rest of the 9 months, he's going to taunt me with it that she purposely got pregnant to trap him. And okay, so here is where Allison starts to ask Cliff if Jimmy was right about everything. And of course, Cliff responded that, see, both working class people, and that they think alike on some things, and that Allison is not the only person that Jimmy does not like because she belongs to the rich class, that Jimmy does not even resonate with his mother's people because they are from the rich class. All right. And whilst Allison was asking if she should tell Jimmy enters. He looked at them kissing and he was not moved again. Like, he was not disturbed. Okay, so he asked about Allison. Okay, so they sent Cliff to go out and get cigarettes for them. He asked about Allison's arm, and Allison responded that okay, it's fine. And whilst they were doing this, Cliff and Allison's hands were still around each other. So it's not something that they do secretly. So after which Jimmy sent Cliff to go and get them cigarettes. All right, so after Cliff left, Jimmy started to tell Allison that he loves her. He might have weird way of showing this love, but he loves her truly, and that even when Allison does something as simple as ironing or a simple house chore, that it arouses that love again, like it rekindles that love in him. And Jimmy proceeded to place his head against Allison's stomach. He looks up to her and they kiss passionately. Now Allison asked, wait, what do you want to do? Jimmy answered like, you know what I want to do now. And Allison was like, no, we cannot do anything now. Cliff can come in any moment from now. Now Allison, being the sophisticated person now, would not behave rashly as the working class people would do, like anyway, you understand? So he says, no, this is not right. There is a right time to do this as far as working class people are concerned. So Jimmy confided in her that Cliff is his only true friend, and that every of his friends ends up leaving him. And then whilst he was talking, he referred to Ortena's mom, and he talked about Ortena was his friend, right? They both belong to the working class. So because they didn't have any job, then they would gallivant, they would crash parties, they would uninvited, they would crash parties, they would eat, they would drink, they would this and that. And so one day, all just said that he was going to look for greener pasture. He encouraged him and persuaded him not to go, that don't leave your mom here, don't leave her stranded and all. So he said he was going to go regardless. And after he left, Otina's mom transferred the sweet store. It's just like this shop, this movable store that you can wheel into the market, sell what you want. It's not like there's a ready-made shop, right? So this sweet store she decided to give Jimmy so that Jimmy can find something doing. And so it's that sweet store that Jimmy and Cliff had been managing, holding Otina's mom in high esteem, that she is responsible for the little livelihood that he has now. And he's surprised that with all the love that Otina's mom had given, he expects that Allison should warm up to her. But Allison really doesn't like Otina's mom. Jimmy does not like the fact that she does not like his benefactor. And whilst Allison was already scared that, I thought everything is fine for a minute. So this one that you have brought Otina's mom matter now, everything will start again. Just then, Jimmy calls Allison a beautiful, great-eyed squirrel. And Allison notes brightly, relieves that, thank God, okay? And then he goes on to compare her to a squirrel with shiny fur and a bushy tail. Allison plays along, pretending to munch nuts and shouting, "Wee!" She in turn calls him a jolly super bear. He agrees that bears and squirrels are marvelous. Allison begins to do a squirrel dance, and when Jimmy asked what she was doing, she replied that it's a dance squirrels do when they are happy. You now wonder, like, Allison that has been very, very quiet all this while, how come when she was referred to a squirrel, when she was referred to an animal, she decided to, open up and, and this is just their lifestyle. They have a unique game. That game is called a game of bear and squirrel. And anytime they play that game, they tend to leave the human world into the animal world. That is the only time that they can show passion, they can express love to one another. That is the only time that they don't fight. That's the only time that they genuinely, laugh aloud and, become free. You now wonder, when you were humans, not that they turn to bear and squirrel, please don't get me wrong, like they just assume that like it's a game, let's play the game of bear, you understand? So it's like that bear and squirrel is like their only getaway. So they do it often as possible, and it's just like let's get away from the harsh reality of life. Whilst they are human, there is still, everything points to the fact that their status are not the same, and so there's always rancor, there's always disagreement between them because of their social status. So but in animal world, there's nothing like middle class, there's nothing like working class, you understand? They are all the same, they are all equal. You understand? And in animal world, there's nothing like beef, there's nothing like fight, there's nothing like, pusillanimous and all right? So when they take up that animal world, they tend to be free, and express themselves as they should, right? Animals do not have any worries. So they leave their worries aside, and so when they finish the game and then they move back to humans, they pick up from where they left it, right? Okay, so Jimmy asked her why she was happy, and Allison replies that everything just seems all right suddenly, and she saw that, this is the right avenue, everything is fine now, this is the right avenue for me to break the news of my pregnancy. Just when she was about to open her mouth to tell Jimmy that she's pregnant, Cliff entered. All right, and when Cliff entered, Cliff was like, Allison, Miss Dury is their landlord. Miss Dury says that you have a call from Elena, and that changed everything again. Elena is, remember I told you that Jimmy does not resonate with any of Allison's friends, not even family, except Webster. Elena is one of the friends that Jimmy does not like. Now, you knowing that your husband does not like this particular friend, I believe that to a large extent you should be wary of accommodating that friend, or be wary of how that you relate with that friend. So now you have a call from Helena, and you know that my husband does not like this call. You went ahead to receive the call. That is not even the issue. Now, when Cliff saw that Jimmy had changed everything. What's up? What is happening? And Jimmy goes on to tell Cliff that, see, Elena is my number one enemy, and that he doesn't like her. And what he was saying is, he went to Allison's bag and started, looking through it. And Cliff was like, wait, so why are you looking through your wife's bag? That's it. Why are you invading into her privacy? And I say, since I've gotten married to Allison, I've been very, very suspicious. And so he saw a letter. So he brings out the letter and read the letter. Just as he has predicted, there was no mention of his name in the letter. And the letter is from his mom, from Allison's mom to Allison. As if not for anything, I've been your daughter's husband for close up to 4 years now. If it just regards to Jimmy, like, and so he got angry. At that point, Allison enters and was like, see, like, they avoid his name in his letters, and that even Allison responds to her mom's letter, replies her mom's letter, and she never also mentioned his name. If you were the one, you also get angry, yeah? So because we're going to get to the part where I will ask you the reasons you feel that Jimmy is angry. He is an angry man, right? So now, he was angry that his name is a dirty word. That's why they don't get to mention his name when they are exchanging letters. So he asked what the call was about, and he said, now listen, he asked what the call was about. He said that Elena is coming over. Calm down. You say, calm down. You're reasoning. I need you to reason this thing. Let's reason together. Now, you know that your husband does not like this lady. And then you receive a call, and that person tells you that, oh, I'm coming over, I'm spending some days with you, knowing that your husband does not like. Are you not supposed to just tell her or look for a way to tell her that, please look for another option? No, this one is a no-go area. But she just accepts like that. And when Jimmy asked her listening what Elena wanted, and she responded that Elena is coming over as she's working with an acting company nearby and has nowhere to stay. Like, really? Okay, let's even imagine that Elena does not have anywhere to stay. It's imperative of her to come in to say, my husband, someone wants to come, or I don't know, I just want to ask permission. Should she come? That is common sense. That is you respecting your husband. But we see her giving Elena the go ahead to come over without taking any consent or seeking any consent from the husband. And you see, and you wonder why, Jimmy is angry, right? So Jimmy didn't even bother. Jimmy, please, when she's coming, I hope she's coming with her armor. Like, she needs to guard herself because she's going to collect. And of course, with all of these things that that Allison would just do without, thinking twice, she got angry again and started raining insults. And you're like, you know what? I wish that you experience pain. That's the husband telling the wife, I wish that you experience pain. I wish that you have a child and that child dies. Now, that is deep. That is deeper than the deepest. That's dramatic irony, because we, the reader, we already know, right, that Allison was already pregnant. Jimmy does not know. So now Jimmy wishing that Allison will have a child and that child will die, so that that thing can break Allison, since all the insult and everything is not breaking her. At least if she loses someone dear to her, then she can be broken. Well, in as much as I want Allison to be broken, but that is on the high side. Why is the world so wicked? But really, why? That's really on the high side, and I feel that was just too much, and that got Allison. Why? Because she's already pregnant, and it was on that note that Act 1 ended. I hope that you understand. I hope that you enjoyed my gist. With this, that you can listen to it over and over again. Like, you don't really need to read the play again if you listen to all of these things that I've said. For the second act, will you prefer that I return to my normal teacher-student tone or friend-to-friend gist? Let me know in the comment section. So please, I'm going to be uploading the second act 2. I'm going to be uploading it shortly. Please tell your friends that this is the right place to be. If they're not here yet, tell them to come, that this is the right place to be. So till I come your way next time, see you, and please subscribe. Bye.